Yep.
Yes.
I asked, so I was reading the Ultimate Supreme Court reference today and came across this, and I
First of
was
all,
just
I
wondering.
first of all I appreciate that, Amanda. Just so you know, I appreciate that.
I have
That's
nothing else
hardcore.
to
That's
say,
hardcore.
You are one of us.
Yeah.
but I don't know. I guess in the Dow Chemical plant case, they rolled it open field and they used vision enhancement.
Okay.
Would using vision enhancement in curtilage be a violation?
Yeah. No. Did you also want to talk about drones? Any of this part of this? No. I think you just want to know basically when does Dow Chemical become a search, right, on curtilage?
Yes.
Okay. I got your answer. Well, you want to take it?
Well, Dow Chemical is not a
Curtilage case.
domicile.
No. So that's
Right,
why I
yeah.
want to talk. So let's talk
Yeah.
about it. But if you remember correctly, they Dow Chemical. Well, first of all, you got to explain what Dow Chemical is.
Right.
But also, they talked about the curtilage issue. They
Mhm.
said that these rules may not apply to curtilage.
Right. So yeah, it was who was investigating? It was
I want to say the EPA or something.
EPA or
Maybe
somebody like
maybe
that.
Brave.
Yeah.
Brave. Do you remember who it was?
I think it was the EPA.
Okay, yeah, it was the
Yeah.
EPA. Yeah.
And so they were wanting to see what's going on with Dow, if I remember correctly, and they ended up getting surveillance from aerial platform of some height, pretty significantly high. If I
Yeah.
remember
Well, look,
correctly.
I made it up. I mean, it was like either it was thousands of feet, but the thing
Mhm.
is, like, this was like in the mid 1980s,
Right.
and the EPA, if I'm not mistaken, rented the most advanced, well, almost like U2 level, like U2 spy plane, but not
to get photographs.
Yeah,
of
but
the,
not
of the,
quite
of the-
U2. But actually, it's actually a good example. Like, what if it was the U2 spy plane, right?
Mhm.
So, but the camera equipment that they had, they said from, I don't know, like 10,000 feet could see a 1-inch wire, right?
Wow.
And so
So technology not available to
definitely
most
not to the
folks.
general public. You couldn't pick that up at Walmart.
Right.
And so the argument, they want to look for obviously violations of the EPA, right? And
Because
actually
they wouldn't let them.
they wouldn't let them come in.
Yeah, they didn't have a warrant.
And
correct?
good for Dow Chemical, I guess,
Yeah.
right? You know, putting a stop to like the EPA a little bit. And
Mhm.
so they did the high tech, super intrusive, surveillance from the airplane, and they used those plain view images to charge them with those regulatory fines, right?
Right.
Violations.
Yeah.
And they lost.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I have my mixed feelings about it, but the point is that at the end of the day, the Supreme Court, as it is today in 2024, okay, they are very strict. It's either a piece of land is either curtilage or a home, right? Or it's not. And there is no middle ground. Now, at the state level, there can be middle ground, right?
Yeah, there are a little more restrictions on some of
Yeah,
those.
Texas, Louisiana, Oregon, Washington, they can have this middle ground called, they basically they judge it under a reasonable expectation of privacy, just good old fashioned reasonable expectation of privacy. Would this airplane violate the business's expectation of privacy? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure either way. But the point is, that's what happened, Amanda. Now, move that camera and go into a backyard. Well, man, we do have a problem. But I guess the next argument is this: could you see that same thing? Like, let's say you're at 10,000 feet, right? And you have that high tech camera, and you see a grow operation,
right?
And from 10,000 feet, if you look out the window, you cannot see it. But if you were at 500 feet, which legally you could be, and you would see the grow operation, would that be a search under the Fourth Amendment?
No.
Amanda, I think that's where we're at in 2024. I think that's where we're at right now. Is that
Okay.
if you could go ahead, huh?
If you can see it with your naked eye,
From a lawful vantage point,
Right.
And that's what the argument is going to be, right, Amanda? Because clearly, if you could see it with the naked eye from 1,000, 10,000 feet, then you wouldn't need the high tech camera, right?
right?
But imagine you were flying at a safe, lawful level, right? Complying with all FAA regulations, and you would see the same thing. Then why does it become private just because you use magnification? And Amanda, I'll tell you a good example of this. Imagine that a narc is surveilling a drug house.
You talking about me?
You were a narc, not that kind of narc.
Oh,
right? You were a good narc.
the good narc.
Yeah. And so not a tattletale.
Oh,
And
that
so
kind of-
yeah. And so what happened was, or I'm saying, so imagine that Boone in his glory days over here when he was running and gunning.
The long hair.
Yeah, long hair, not the academy, just pushing pencils and stuff, riding a desk. So imagine that he wants to see, in front of the house, right? He wants to see drug operations happening in front of the house, hand-to-hand transactions, so forth. And instead of being on the sidewalk with the long hair looking like pretty much like an undercover cop, he goes 400 yards away and breaks out the binos. And you see how I do the hand gestures too? That's
like
an
that.
Italian thing.
That's the visual.
I mean, I'm doing the hand-to-hand transactions. I'm doing this. That's what Italians do.
Hey,
So
it's very nice.
it's very nice. That's not Italian, by the
No,
way.
it
That's
wasn't, no.
Borat. So, anyway, instead of being right on the curb, we go 400 yards away, and he sees the exact same thing that he would have seen from the curb. Are we good?
Yeah.
That's what applies to the air.
Okay.
I think. Huh? Oh, yeah. That's a tough one. So, okay, that's where you get this reasonable expectation of privacy. So first of all, do me a favor, Mike. In order to answer this question and really answer all these questions, what is a reasonable expectation of privacy? That's what this test is all about.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so just to boil it down, 2 parts. The person's subjective thoughts that they have privacy, interest in a place, a thing.
They want to keep things private.
Yes, they want to keep things
Yeah.
private,
Yep.
closing the blinds at night, whatever it is, your house, car, whatever
Mhm.
it is. And the other part of this here is an objective view of that is society willing to also agree that that should be private too.
Yep.
So that's kind of your 2-part test. when you look at
Subjective,
the-
objective.
Subjective, objective, kind of both sides. You got to have both.
Yep.
You've got to have both. You can't just have a crook thinking, I'm cool with smoking crack on the park bench.
You're right.
Because I think I should be able to. But
Yeah.
society,
They're not gonna-
they probably won't think so.
Right. And I'm not sure if Brave will have anything to add, but okay. So let me just kind of tell you what things going on here. So first of all, I want you to know, Amanda, and we have Willie here and so forth, is that judges matter, okay, and people matter. When you have a test that is both subjective and objective, you know what's going to be introduced into the equation. Humans, human, proclivities, right? I may not be offended by something, and Mike is offended. If I'm the judge, I say getting on the back of the car and looking at the guy's fence is fine because there's a power pole there. I guess it can happen there. And Mike is like, that's ridiculous. We're not gonna live in that type of society. So going back to, I think we have a problem. Okay, I would not recommend that officers do it because it's going to offend a lot of judges. Getting on the back of a car and stepping on the bumper and looking at people's backyards seems different than being in an airplane because people. And here's the thing: the reason why it's different is all about something called expectations. We expect that the government may fly a helicopter, we're talking about drones in a second, at 500 feet, that's pretty low, by the way, not in an urban area, but at 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet, we expect that. I can't go to court and say, Your Honor, how could they do this to me? I can't believe they flew over my backyard. But when I go to court and I talk about the cop getting on the back of his Tahoe or the F-150, doesn't that kind of, is a different expectation? It feels different.
Well, look, there's something we talk about at Blue to Gold, this 100-person test. You ask and what we're talking about here is this kind of an easier way to make this measure the subjective, objective
That's
thing.
right.
You take this kind of just not all cops,
well,
not all crooks.
Yeah, we're talking
in the room.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we're saying when you say the 100-person test,
Mhm.
what we're talking about here is you're going to present your scenario to 100 people.
Just a cut of society.
A cut of society. And these 100 people are what? They're not all, you said not all cops?
Not all cops, because, well,
cops will say hell yeah.
Hell yeah, right. And not all crooks, because they're like,
hell no to anything,
hell no.
everything.
Right.
They're just, you know what they're like? They're people like us. They're people like us. I love
Reasonable
crime control. I love the fact that Amanda is out there pushing that black and white, keeping her community safe. But I also love the fact that Amanda can't go into people's backyards just to snoop around. Or I also like the fact that our previous caller that arrives at a call that has no basis of proof can't get kicking doors and just make sure people are okay. That's the kind of country I like to live in. I like the old America.
Here we go again.
Somebody said, so did you hear like some cop was like, Anthony, where were you on January 6th?
I heard that earlier. That was awesome.
That was so damn funny. Anyway.
So folding back to that 100-person thing, so you pitched that question,
Yeah.
that cut of society. How would you feel about that? You're sitting in your backyard, a cop jumps on the hood of their car, starts looking over, seeing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are offended by that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so Amanda, so far so good?
America.
Yep.